Hi, my name is Chris Knight. I'm from Poughkeepsie. I live in Ithaca, New York now. I have a music project called Robot Detective. I make electronic music with modular synths, and I play a lot of shows and have a lot of fun. I collect a lot of different synths, but I've recently gotten into Eurorack modular synths. I really like FM, glitchy, like percussion sounds. And I also like a lot of these like vintage digital reverb units that came out in the 90s that have like a really kind of distorted metallic sound to them. So I basically like combine like a lot of those kind of elements to make music that goes between like hard techno, like 4/4 house stuff into like glitchier polyrhythmic techno music and ambient harsh noise, and just blend all that stuff together. When I started Robot Detective, I was making a lot of beats in Ableton, and then I wanted like synths and reverb to kind of complement that. And then eventually I got enough sequencing, I got enough lead stuff that was pretty fun. And then eventually I got more into like Eurorack percussion stuff. And so eventually I really have tried to eliminate the computer. I wanted to be able to have a system that I could perform techno with. I didn't want it to like sit in the studio and be like just a wall of stuff that nobody ever gets to see. Yeah, I think it's more tactile and fun to do stuff with hardware live, and I think people think it's interesting. For performance, it's pretty much all improvised. I don't play back any pre-recorded material really. I have some sample players in my rack that like I weave in and out of the set. I've gotten to the point where I feel really comfortable performing and improvising. I feel like I've like developed like a certain trust in like my setup and in my workflow that like I feel like I can cover like different, enough different territory. Right now, I'm really fascinated with all of the different people of color who are making fantastic experimental music all over the world, and a lot of it just isn't really recognized or really given credit. If you're like a black experimental musician who's making some weird stuff, it's like actually pretty hard to get yourself booked. When I think of the musicians who like really inspire me, I think of More Mother, who is a rapper from Philly who does really aggressive and just important work. Really recommend Samus, who's been a really great friend and mentor to me, just as a musician, as somebody who cares about building the scene and like what Black music should represent to people. The work of D'Antoni Parks is really, really interesting. Just that kind of avant-garde drumming mixed with electronics. I think that's really cool. Onyx Ashanti is doing work with motion sensors and like accelerometers that are controlling max patches and like different synthesis. And he's able to basically like turn his body into a cybernetic like instrument with the sensors that he's building. I feel like just across kind of all forms of electronic music, you're talking like noise, techno, hip hop, I think that whole landscape has become really democratized in the past like 50 years or so. Electronic music was started by these old white guys with their modular synths, and they were people who shelled out thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars for these boutique like Moog systems. And now you can get a microKORG and FL Studio and you can produce top 40 hits. That's like really leveled the playing field of like access to the technology that you would need to like make some really cool tracks. And I think a lot of people want to make music, a lot of people want to start performing. They need a community to be able to do that. They need support to be able to succeed as a musician and be able to kind of reach their creative potential. Just my work is like somebody who like books and works for an organization that puts on shows, I kind of keep that in mind, that like, to me, like booking bands isn't about trying to raise the platform of like any one specific artist over like another one, but it's really just kind of for me about like community building and like building a community around music and art to like get people interested in it and to make that like a normal thing. DIY culture has been like kind of an exclusively accessible thing, I think, and so like you need more community organizers from different backgrounds to be able to like actually put DIY into practice in different communities. To build a community around music that doesn't really cost you much, it just like costs some time, but it's like it's worth it. So I think you should just do it. Ithaca Underground is an arts and event planning organization that puts on 50 all ages shows every year. We cover a lot of genres, from punk to electronic music, hip hop, indie rock, noise, pretty much anything that's kind of subversive or cool. Yeah, so we're all volunteer run, and basically, we try to just book really interesting events and bring lots of interesting artists through, and also create like a space for local artists to feel comfortable performing their new work. You know, get people feeling like performing and that like being engaged in music is something valuable. I think a lot of Ithaca Underground's success can really be attributed to Bubba Crumrine, who spent a lot of time developing the organization. And so really what it took was somebody who cared enough to sacrifice a lot of their personal time to book shows and to give new artists a place to perform. You know, Ithaca's a small town, so there's not a lot of stuff going on really. And when they started Ithaca Underground, there wasn't really much subversive punk stuff going on. There's a small house show scene. I've been thinking about trying to record. I want to try to collaborate with some more people and like release some different projects about some different things, some different collaborations. Right now I'm focused on the Dark DIY Festival, making sure that all runs well, and doing a lot of booking for Ithaca Underground for the fall and winter. With the music, I have some shows lined up, so I think at some point I'll probably settle down and try to record my kind of newer setup. It's hard to find time to record, and so I have to like buckle down and do it, you know. So you can follow me on Facebook, Robot Detective, or name's Chris Knight. I release my material on Bandcamp and Spotify. It's under Robot Detective, and I'll probably have some other like strangely named projects coming out at some point soon. So yeah, be on the lookout for those.